It was funny. Matty said to me the other day, he's like, Dad, we better not have to get pulled out by Banky because I'll never live the shame down. You can tell he's a Toyota boy.
That's it. Well, have you got lockers?
No.
I do. So I might be doing the pulling. Welcome to GCP Live, episode number 41 for the 2nd of June, 2023. GCP Live is sponsored by Kasna. At Kasna, we make your Google Cloud solutions possible. And I'm your host, Stephen Bancroft. On today's show, we take a look at Google I/O and all the cool stuff that came out of that. Did phishing just get a little bit easier? We get rid of those pesky passwords. Who needs them anyway? Plus
AI, generative AI, AI. It uses AI to bring AI.
But before we get to any of that, I'd like to introduce the co-host of the show, Ian Brown. How you going, Ian?
Good, Banky. How you doing, mate?
Good, mate. Good. And how's your week been?
Yeah, it's been pretty quiet around here.
Yeah.
I've been on leave this week.
Yeah. Oh, nice to have a little break. But it was a bit funny, actually, because when we did that Bruno Aziza show, we actually recorded that a little bit earlier than we normally record. So it's actually been, 3 weeks since we did a recording, really?
Yeah. I was sitting there last Thursday going, I'm sure we've got a podcast recording this week. And we didn't. It was
no,
it's the week in between.
That's right. And we actually were able to skip one of our production meetings. Oh, okay, get a little bit of a break. And now it's like we're going to get back into the mood again.
Yeah, that's it.
It's a bit weird. But were you up to any tech adventures while you're on this little hiatus of yours?
Well, look, I've not a huge amount. I've been playing with a little bit of electrical stuff in my camper trailer, and I've done a little bit of distro hopping on my laptop. So I'm now running RHEL 9 on my laptop. Nice. For those of you who don't know what RHEL is, it's Red Hat Enterprise Linux. I signed up to the Red Hat developers subscription, and they give you a copy of RHEL to use wherever you want. So nice. I'm using that. It's super stable. It actually uses Pipewire, and it's as clear as a bell. It sounds beautiful.
Right, so you're using Pipewire right now?
Using Pipewire right now.
And your sound card, you're on the Sapphire, Focusrite Sapphire, is that right? Or
yep. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. And because that'd be driver compliant USB, I'd imagine, so that'd be why it's working.
Yeah, whereas using it I tried Pop! OS, I tried Ubuntu, I tried Fedora. None of them worked with Pipewire natively. I had to revert to Pulse Audio, or I had to put custom config into Pipewire. So I don't know what Red Hat's done, but I love it.
It works. Yeah, it sounds great. I don't know, my tech adventures. I've been so busy. I pulled some parts off my 4-wheel drive and started painting those. That's not really a tech adventure; it's a painting adventure. But I sat another cert, passed a cert.
Yeah, I saw that. Congratulations.
Yeah, the professional security, the Google Cloud professional security engineer. That's the one. Yeah,
that's the one.
Yeah. What are we saying about that exam? Now, normally up to now, I'd use the Cloud Guru, right, to study for, but they hadn't refreshed their courseware for this version of the exam. And I wasn't too worried about that. I read a couple of posts saying, but probably 60, 70, maybe 80% of it's still valid. So I quickly went through their training exam to do it. But what I actually did use this time is Skills Boost.
Okay.
Now, look, I have been critical of Skills Boost before. And I think I mentioned this last time as well, but they've really lifted their game. It's getting better and better all the time. I didn't use the quest so much. What I did do was the pathway that they have for the security professional, and I went through all their instructor-led content, and then I went back and did what they call the diagnostic questions.
Okay.
Because I didn't want to spoil the diagnostic questions first. Now, the way they angle it is like, do the diagnostic questions, find out what you get wrong, and then go study that. Well, I'd rather do it the other way around. I'd rather do the study, right, and then do the diagnostics questions. And hopefully I don't get anything wrong and I'm all good, right? Which is more or less what happened. If I got something wrong at that point, then I might go back and review it. But why give yourself that extra step if you don't have to?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I've been doing the network engineers pathway on Skills Boost at the moment, and I did those diagnostic questions, and I got a couple wrong, and I struggled to figure out why I'd got a couple wrong because and
it was like, hey Banky, why did I get this wrong?
Yeah, exactly. Like, Banky, what's going on here? Am I missing something? And it was the answer that they gave you in response to your incorrect answer was not at all helpful. No. So I eventually figured it out. It was,
I don't think that, so they're diagnostic questions. They're not intended for you to study with those questions. They're intended to test your knowledge. So they're not going to give you what the correct answer should be for those questions.
No, but it would have been nice really if they gave you like a link to the doco to say, hey, you really need to go and review GKE VPC native clusters, or you need to go and review whatever other thing it is that you got wrong.
Yeah.
Here's a link to the doco so that you can start looking at it, because that one stumped me for hours and hours and hours trying to figure out where I'd gone wrong. Like, it's like going down to, have I worked out this subnet masking correctly? Because like I can do it in my head.
Turns out you had in one of them. But anyway.
Well, no, I hadn't. I hadn't worked out the subnet masking correctly. I just put the wrong octet in place.
The wrong octet in place. Yeah. Never mind. But you don't have to get 100%. That's what I told myself all the way through. You don't have to get 100%. We don't know what it is you got to get to pass, but you don't have to get 100%. And as long as you know enough, then you'll get through.
Yeah, that's it.
So anyway, my strategy was that I did review some of the stuff on the Cloud Guru as well, and I used the sample questions that they gave. Because here's the thing: when I started doing the sample questions, the sample exam questions, I started thinking to myself, these are very, very familiar. These seem all very familiar, and of course, they were from when I did it 2 years ago, so they hadn't really fully revved it yet. There was a few new questions in the exam, but the sample of questions are pretty much the same as the ones 2 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool.
So if you've got the security cert now, you should be right if you go and sit it.
Nice.
Now. Yep.
I don't. I want to get the network one.
Get the network one first.
Because that's the hard one.
That's the hard one. In fact, you're studying for it now, but I would say probably do them the other way around. Do the security one first, because there's some concepts in the security one that are like they step up in the network one. But if you're familiar with networking, then it shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah.
What else do we have during? Google I/O. Can't go without mentioning Google I/O.
That was what, 3 weeks ago now?
Yes.
2 weeks ago?
That's right. It was about to come because we did the Bruno Aziza episode a week before our usual recording date. It was about to start the following day, so we haven't had a regular episode since then. So let's just say right now, all the things add Gen AI. That's it. All the things Gen AI.
I love the opening of the Google I/O keynote, the YouTube video that you sent me the link of, and right at the start, it's like 3 different people saying AI, and I'm like, really? Is that the entirety of Google I/O? Thankfully, it wasn't. That was just a very small part of it, but certainly when you open it with AI, oh no.
So we saw phones. We've got the Pixel. So the lineup now is the Pixel 7 Pro, the Pixel 7, and the Pixel 7a.
That's right, and a new one that's coming out, the foldable,
and the tablet. Now my wife's just got herself a Pixel 7a. She's loving it. I've got a Pixel 7, loving it as well.
Yeah.
The tablet, the Nest tablet. My wife's actually got one of those on order as well. She's doing a little bit of end of financial year purchasing.
Lovely.
So I'll be able to give you a little report on that one when it comes. And if you buy that now, and this is the reason we did get it, is you get a $250 voucher. And I'm probably going to, I don't know, get myself a Pixel Watch or something like that. I don't know.
Lovely. Yeah. I love the tablet. It comes with the dock that's a speaker as well. So
Yes.
it sort of turns it into a Nest hub.
Exactly. So it goes into the dock and it becomes a hub.
Mhm.
Take it off the dock and then you can log into it and use it as a Pixel tablet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other thing I saw on the Google store today, I was actually having a look at them, at the tablets today. But I saw on the store is they've got a dock for the Pixel phone as well. So you can put it like a nightstand dock that charges it, but turns it just into a clock and leaves a display on all the time.
Right. So it's an inductance charger or is it?
Yep.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Right.
Qi charger, I think they call it. Yeah.
Yep. No, because I'm still charging the old Daggy way with the old Daggy cable, you know.
Oh yeah, you and me both.
This is where I am.
I'll wear the USB-C cable cord out before I wear the phone out.
Yeah. I am missing that 3.5mm headphone jack though. I still haven't managed to buy myself a pair of Bluetooth headphones, but we'll get there.
I'm lucky. I've got a set of Bose over ears that I used when I was flying all the time, and they're amazing. But yeah, I miss just having a normal set of headphones that I can throw on my ears.
Yeah. What else did we see? We saw Gmail Help Me Write, which is basically a generative AI thing.
Yeah, so that's a bit more of the Bard integrations.
That's right. Yeah,
a bit like what Microsoft's doing with what's that search engine they've got? Bing.
Yeah.
They've got Copilot integrated in there.
Yep. Oh, let's not go down the Microsoft rabbit hole and all the stuff.
Let's leave that alone.
A lot of stuff came out of there as well, and they're really amping the game up as well, right? They've got it's tit for tat at the moment between the two.
Yeah, very much so. But I like that Bard's now supporting more than 20 programming languages.
Yeah.
I think that's fantastic. You
were just telling me about the debugging thing.
Yeah, you can just paste a block of code in there and it'll essentially debug it for you, which is
with explanations.
Awesome. With explanations, and they'll give you a link to where they found a similar block of code that shows you the explanation. Or you can get it the same as I did when Bard first came out in Australia. And we got early access to it. I asked it to write a little bit of JavaScript for me, and it does that, and it'll give you citations as to where that's come from.
Well, that's
which
good
I think
then,
is
isn't
fantastic.
It? Yeah, because if it's taken it from something with a GPL license, then it really should be credited, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
and it's got dark theme now.
Yeah,
which makes me happy.
And you can do pictures, as I was showing you here before. Yeah. Y62 patrols that look good. This here, right here.
There's no such thing. Bard, you can't do this. There's no such thing.
Well, Bard says so. What else did we see? Oh, in Maps immersion mode. You can fly down into Google Maps and get a street level view and go on. Now, I've always tried to do this, you know, like you just click on the button, where am I going to go to? Because it's good if you're going to drive somewhere if you've never been there before and you want to see the street before you get there. So you know what to expect. And you click on the button and you look at the photos. But no, this is all seamless now, literally seamless.
Gone are the days of having the Refidex in the back of the car.
That's
or the UBD or whatever it is that you've got in whatever state you're living in.
Now, I don't have a link for this, but if you go do a bit of internet sleuthing, you'll find there's we're all aware of what Unreal Engine 5 is, right? Unreal,
I certainly am.
There is a plugin for Unreal Engine 5 that integrates the Maps immersion mode into Unreal Engine 5, and you can make a full animation, like you can animate the entire world. It turns the entire world into a sandbox.
That's really cool.
Pretty insane.
I wonder then, could you use that? Like if you're doing an open world game, could you use my son plays a lot of Forza and that sort of stuff where they've got a map through the Gold Coast. I wonder if you could use that plugin in order to pull those maps in and use them inside
what you would
of it.
use it for. Exactly. So you know how awesome. Microsoft Flight Simulator does that with the real world. That's exactly the same thing.
Yeah, cool. And Magic Photo Editor.
Magic Photo Editor.
I love this. I thought this was the coolest thing I'd seen. So the demo was really cool in that there was a photo there and there was a child sitting on a bench with a bunch of balloons and half the balloons were out of shot. So they just picked up the child with the bench and the balloons and just moved it across in the photo and AI filled it all in.
Yep.
or Magic Editor filled it all in.
Now, since then, Adobe has come out with generative fill in Photoshop now. So in the current beta version of Photoshop, you can highlight an area like you normally would. And normally you just pick fill, gradient or whatever and you just fill it. But no, now you do generative fill and it just populates the whole thing. The video that I saw is like a shot of a guy like from the waist up and they make the picture bigger and then highlight it and then the generative fill draws in the legs and the pants and everything else.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, I remember seeing graphic designers doing this 15, 20 years ago where they would manually have to, I can't remember what the tool is that they used to use in Photoshop, but it was like a rubber stamp tool. And
that's Heal. That's the Heal tool, yeah.
It'd just pick up bits from around it and sort of blend them together.
Yeah, but no, this is like literally two clicks and it's done.
Yeah.
So it's same sort of thing. What else was there? Gen AI on Sheets is cool as well.
Oh, that was really cool. Like the whole, start me a sheet up that does my dog walking business with times and rates, and that's so cool.
I'd imagine you could probably have like if you've got a data set as well, you could mark the data set and say, create me a form or a pivot table or something from this, and boom, it would just work it out.
Yeah, well, it's the same as in Docs. You can get it to write a letter for you, essentially.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and same with in email. So in Google Workspace, if you've got Google Workspace, you get I think the example that they showed there was a flight was cancelled. You get an email with a voucher number for your flight, and you can tell AI to draft an email to say no, I want a full refund instead, and it'll go through and do the whole thing for you, which will save a whole lot of time because I rewrite emails about 5 times before I send them.
Or you're searching through your sent items for one similar that you sent before. It's like, well, no, I don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah, that's it.
Be good if you could train it on your emails you've already sent, so it writes it in the style of like the way you would write an email.
Oh yeah.
And the last two were a bit. Well, RCS is cool. Yeah. Is everyone going to get on board? There was a couple of little digs at Apple during that talk, I think.
Yeah, there was definitely a poke at Apple there, but I mean, obviously, I'm on a Pixel, so I'm using RCS. And for those who don't know, RCS is Rich Communication Services, which basically allows you to have it's a more dynamic conversation than SMS and MMS. So it's more like a chat room than it is an SMS.
Yeah, and it makes emoji metadata and images and that universal between all the messaging platforms.
Yeah.
Stickers and things, they always appear. Yeah, the same.
Yeah, that's it. Like taps on text, like your response is on a text. Instead of sending an emoji as a response, you can just you can like thumbs up a specific message.
And the last two I thought were a bit gimmicky. We had Magic Compose and Gen AI wallpapers.
Yeah, look, I don't
know either. Like,
I don't know.
The kids will like it. Like Magic Compose, you can like reply to messages like in certain styles and sort of gives you suggestions of good ways to reply.
We should use that to start replying to messages like Captain Hook or something.
And Gen AI wallpapers, I thought was cool. You could do the cinematic wallpapers. It would do like a what's it called, an animated still. Where you do that. You cut the foreground out and have the background. You can just do that with AI now.
Yeah,
on your phone. And then I imagine you tilt your phone and you'll see the image tilt backwards and forwards, 3-dimensional like.
Yep.
So there's some cool things that came out of Google AI.
Yeah, that was good. It was really fun to watch that 16-minute overview of what's come out.
Yeah, I'll link that in the show notes. And I think I just called it Google AI, by the way.
AI. Well, but there was a lot of AI in it.
A lot of AI in it, exactly. We'll just go a quick update here. The Paris outage we reported on a couple of weeks ago.
All fixed.
It's all fixed. Now, you said you had the outage report there, Ian.
Yeah, so I looked on the so Google's got their status page for cloud, and there's an incident there for it. Obviously, it was a fairly decent size incident. they're saying that it affected services including Compute Engine, Kubernetes Engine, Bigtable, Persistent Disk, Cloud SQL, and File Store. But on the 10th of May at 15:38 US Pacific time, I don't know what that works out to be in our time because the US are, what's that, 8 hours behind GMT?
Yeah. Thereabouts.
They're saying that it was now fixed. But it was interesting. The root cause of it was a water leak occurred in one of the data centers. Right, we all knew that. We reported on that a while ago.
Yep. Water ingress. Yep.
So that led to a fire in the battery room. Right, so that shut down. The water leak initially impacted a portion of Europe West 9A.
Yep.
However, the subsequent fire in the battery room required all of Europe West 9A and a portion of Europe West 9C to be temporarily powered down. So this suggests to me that probably there's a dependency on those two, on the battery room between those two data centers, and they're probably not quite as segregated as they should be. But that was the initial cause of it. So.
And I think the water leak was caused by a pump malfunction.
Yes, it was.
A cooling pump malfunction.
Yes, It was a cooling tower that failed. So now another article that we have here said that the French, the firefighters that came in response to this had to tread carefully around electrical fires, and this one generated a lot of heat, so much so that it was hours before attempts at extinguishment were possible and or safe.
Right.
That's a bit scary. I mean, realistically, you've got large amounts of batteries. These data centers don't use a small amount of power.
No.
So when you have to use battery power, there'd be some fairly hefty cables there, or
were the batteries on fire? Would they be lithium or lead acid batteries?
Well, and this is what I don't know. So, I mean, obviously, a lot of information about how Google runs their data centers is fairly
hush-hush,
fairly hidden.
Yeah.
Yep. But I would assume that given that there was a water leak there, that they could have been either.
Because if they were lithium, we know that lithium does burn. Lithium batteries.
And they're deadly toxic when they do. So they release lithium sulfide, which is fatal.
Yeah. So if there's a lot of lithium batteries burning, that would be a lot of heat and a lot of noxious gases. So that you would think that the firefighters would not want to go into that.
Yep. But even if it's lead acid batteries, when they go up, they go up with a heck of a lot of heat. You just got to think of vehicle fires that are battery or electrically generated. If you've got a badly wired 12-volt system in your four-wheel drive, that can cause your vehicle to go up, and it's all over a Red Rover.
You're saying something about my 12-volt wiring.
No, more likely mine.
Well, there you go. But all fixed now, so we're good.
Yep.
Paris is good.
All fixed.
Paris is not burning anymore. Okay,
nope.
Good. All right. And then just quickly before we get on to the news items, Ben Cotton, head of the Fedora program. No more.
Yep, that's it. So Red Hat announced a 4% reduction in global staff, and Ben Cotton, unfortunately, was one of those 4%. So he actually said he created a blog post early in May to say that while I won't be contributing as a Fedora program manager anymore, I was a Fedora contributor long before I joined Red Hat, and I'm not letting them take that away from me. I'll still be around Fedora in ways that spark joy, although perhaps not much at first as I let my wounds heal. Which is, I mean, that's fair enough.
That's understandable.
Yeah.
So he's still going to be around. He's still going to make sure the project's going. I mean, you know, the doomsday people would say, that's it. That's the end of Fedora. No more Fedora.
Well, and that's it. So there's actually a note at the bottom of the article here that says conspiracy theorists will no doubt fear that this spells the beginning of the end for the distro, especially after the way that Red Hat treated CentOS. Although there's no reason to jump to that conclusion. Like at the end of the day, if Fedora is a very, very crucial testing ground for Red Hat Enterprise Linux. It's where all of the bugs get discovered for RHEL packages. And so I don't think Red Hat's going to get rid of that anytime soon.
Yep. They need that. They need it as much as the users of Fedora need them.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, cool. Should we get on with some news items?
Let's do it.
Let's get on with the news items. And first cab off the rank today is .zip domains. Is it Google releases .zip domains and the internet destroys itself?
Oh, this was nuts. So when I first saw it, I was like, what's the big deal? It's a .zip domain. I mean, we had .com.
Yeah.
And for those of us who are old enough to remember, a .com file is an executable file in Windows.
That's right.
Or in
but
DOS, actually.
We don't have .exe though, do we?
No,
we
don't.
have .exe. No.
But we have .com, and a .com file was an executable inside of, well, it wasn't Windows, it was DOS back then.
That's right.
And so I was like, what's the big deal? But then you think about it more and go, okay, back then there was, I don't know, let's say 500 million people on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
These days, there's a few more than that. And there's a few more malicious people on the internet, whereas back then there probably wasn't as many malicious people on the internet.
Yeah.
And so now you've got a very well-known file extension that is used to distribute stuff in emails, and now all sorts of software. Like, you think if you're in Outlook or any sort of email client, and someone sends you a zip file in there, or you say in there,
could be
like,
a hyperlink to a malicious site.
Yeah, that's right. You say, hey, here I've you like include familyphotos.zip in your email, and then go, hey, I've linked all the family photos that we had on the weekend in the file, like in the familyphotos.zip attached.
Yep.
And it'll hyperlink that, and all the malicious actor's got to do is register that domain.
Yep.
And then put a malicious zip file on that domain, and it'll download the zip file.
Yep. Now, speaking of registered domains, there is a GitHub repo that is tracking all the .zip registered domains.
Yes, there is. And it's scary already.
And it's scary already with the stuff that's in there. Now, we've already got posts on Reddit with people saying, how do I block all .zip domains on my Juniper? How do I block them all on my firewall, because people just don't want this coming into their environment. This is just a bad idea. Think right now, actually, speaking about domains, if you go to attachment.zip, you get rickrolled, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Just an example of what it could be. I mean, it could easily be a malicious domain. Think about all the times blah, blah, blah.zip has appeared on the web in older documents and older pages. It is now a domain, and you could click on it. It'll be highlighted as a URL, and you click on it, sends you off to that. All you got to do is register something, and it's malicious, and bang, you got your phishing attack.
That's right. And that's, I suppose this is a thing. This is the thing with this is it can so easily be manipulated to attack a business. And we've already seen the stupid amounts of breaches this year, certainly in financial services sectors, and we'll get to one of them later on. But doing this is, like, as a network admin, I agree. Block the whole lot of them. Don't ever let it, like, star.zip, gone.
Yep. In fact, I just did a quick search. It just occurred to me. I'll just quickly search for Office in that list. And we've got Microsoft-Office-update.zip.
Yep.
Right. Microsoft installer.zip. Yep. Microsoft Office.zip. Microsoft Office installer.zip. You can bet they're all phishing domains.
Yeah, 100% they are. There was a video there that showed, I think it was Microsoft Office.zip, and it downloaded installer.exe. I can guarantee you that installer.exe doesn't install Office.
No.
And then there's other things like the slashes. So obviously in a URL, if you're looking, there was an example actually in the video that we were looking at, and it showed a GitHub URL for Kubernetes with a @v1211.zip.
Yeah, so that's the user
tag.
info field, right?
That's
so,
the user info field before it.
Yeah.
But what the trick that they've used is they've used an ASCII character for the slash that isn't actually the slash. It's a different slash that's a little bit more slanted.
it's the UTF homoglyph for slash. Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah, it's the UTF.
I didn't know what it was called.
And it's on a bit more of an angle, because usually with the user info field, so for those of you who don't know, the user info field is an archaic way of authenticating. And what you could do is you could do HTTP:// username :password @ right, and then that would pass the username and password through to the website. We pretty quickly worked out that putting username and password in clear text in the URL was a really bad idea. So we don't really use it anymore. But what you can do, the way that URL gets parsed, anything after the @ symbol is actually treated as a URL. But if you have a normal slash in there, then that gets negated because it'll use the slashes. But what you can do is you can put this UTF homoglyph of a slash in, which looks kind of the same, but it's on a bit more of an angle. And everything before the @ will just get ignored, and everything after the @ which is like file.zip, that will actually become the URL.
Yeah, that's right. And even so much so, like you were saying that it's on slightly more of an angle, so much so that I looked at two URLs, one with the homoglyph and the other one without it, above and below each other, and I couldn't tell the difference immediately that one had a different slash than the other. It's that much of a
well, what if you
difference.
went even further and you had a malicious website that had a font that actually had both of those that looked the same?
Yeah, well, that's right.
Right, then you just don't know.
Right? Yeah, it's really, really dangerous. So,
but that's on an old trick though. That UTF homoglyph thing is actually an old trick. But this just makes it so much more easy to use.
I'm disappointed that we haven't removed that out of the ASCII character set yet. Really?
There was a bug filed for it for Firefox like 6 years ago, and they closed it. And they said,
they closed it. Will not fix. Yeah. Chrome had the same one.
Yeah. Anyway, look, there's stacks of stuff around the net at the moment about .zip. I don't know. We'll see how long it lasts. I mean, if everyone starts blocking it, then who wants to register a domain on .zip? And you know what Google's like with things; they'll just pull it if it's not working for them.
And look, I just noticed actually in the article that I was reading, Google's response to people's concerns was exactly what I said about .com before, which is a bit freaky. That they're comparing it to .com, and I'm like, but anyway, let's hope they get rid of it sooner rather than later.
They're so blasé about it, and they may. I think. I don't know. They'll be. I reckon. I'm going to predict it. They're going to be forced to eat their words on this one. I reckon there's going to be too many breaches on it. It's going to get too blocked, and they'll have to pull the pin.
Or what's going to happen is every business under the sun is going to block them.
Yep, that's what's going to happen. Anyway, I'm morbidly, I'm well, not amused, but morbidly interested to see how this panned out, because I kind of want to see a big breach happen as a result of this, but that would really not be good.
No, I don't. I don't really want to see a big breach happen, but I see that it's inevitable.
Yep. All right, well, let's move on then, Ian. Let's look at a couple of new features in Google Cloud. We've got Google Cloud Run Jobs.
We do indeed.
Cron jobs.
Yeah,
this is basically cron jobs.
That's exactly what it is. I was reading through the articles, and it's essentially like once upon a time you would have had your HTTP application deployed on Cloud Run, and you'd have to build in some sort of logic in there to trigger some other thing that triggers some other thing that
you'd have a cron running on compute that would trigger your endpoint.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And,
kind of defeats the purpose.
It was horrendous. So what Google's done is they've deployed cron jobs in Cloud Run, which is fantastic.
Finally, yeah. So, so where would you use this? As some examples I gave here: batch data transformations just went serverless. Database migrations serverless now. Nightly reports, run to completion jobs, because that's the other thing too. You can run to completion.
Yep. Long running jobs. Long running jobs is a perfect solution.
Yeah.
For that. And then the other really cool bit, which has just been announced with Cloud Run 2nd Gen, is accessing NFS. So you can do that inside of Cloud Run jobs as well, because Cloud Run's new 2nd Gen execution environment, whilst it has a whole heap of other really cool benefits to it, it now allows you to mount cloud storage as Fuse.
Right, and we'll get on the fuses in a minute, because that's another feature that's come out. But
so in the first generation Cloud Run, you can't mount volumes inside of the Linux container that runs.
No, okay, because it's not permitted in that container. Yeah.
So now in the 2nd Gen one, you can mount network file systems of various different types.
Right. I see.
So
and they say you can run your own NFS server.
You can.
Yeah,
I've run my own NFS server in Google quite successfully,
right?
Using GlusterFS. But yeah, so the 2nd Gen environment is really cool. It's increased CPU and increased network performance, and it gives you the ability to mount network file systems, as we just said. And that includes things like Cloud File Store, your own NFS server, and cloud storage. And cloud storage is using the cloud storage Fuse.
Using Fuse. So,
yep.
Yeah, so that's the next new feature we've got here is cloud storage Fuse. Now, this has been around for a little while, but now they're supporting it. I mean, it's in pre-release, preview, but they're offering it with Google support.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. Because this Google Cloud Storage Fuse existed before. It's just like a community thing, because I've dabbled with it before. But now Cloud Storage Fuse is available today in public preview with official Google support.
Yep. Yeah, so I did have a bit of a play with this, and it's a Fuse mount. So it doesn't perform as a native file system would.
No.
You can expect that anyway because it's blob storage.
Yep.
But it still allows you to mount a cloud storage bucket to your local machine, assuming that you're using Linux, because that's the only way you can do it.
Yep. Well, it's available as a Linux package.
Yep.
Integrations with Vertex AI, and as of today, part of the managed turnkey offering in GKE.
That's right. So the Vertex AI piece is Vertex AI plus the deep learning VM, which is part and parcel of AI ML stuff, and GKE. So it's a reasonable solution for those who need to store large amounts of data without having to have a persistent storage CSI there in GKE.
Right.
And the ability to mount just a general VM.
Yeah. And I'm just reading here with the features. It does this with non-privileged access.
Yes.
Yeah. Cool. And gives it so it's more secure. Very nice. I might dabble with this. I'm thinking I could create a little local Samba server that's backed with a Fuse mount to bucket storage.
Yep.
And that'll give me, I can map that on my Windows machine here, and that'll just give me a spot where I can just, have important files that are effectively stored off site.
Yep.
But it's
definitely.
It's a roll your own solution. I mean, I guess, isn't that what G Drive is?
Well, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
But it's not fast by any means of anyone's imagination, but it suffices. If you just need to store large amounts of documents or large amounts of files, and you don't really care about the speed of retrieval, then use it.
Yeah, certainly make it easy for the quick backup, or you don't have to faff around with GSUtil CP and all that. You just mount a file system and just copy it into there.
Oh yeah, I remember a backup server I ran a few years ago now that'd do the backups of a whole heap of Lotus Note servers. Yes, lots and lots of Lotus Note servers.
Yeah.
And then it would GSUtil, once the backup had completed, it'd complete to a spool disk, and the spool disk would then trigger a GSUtil copy command to copy that backup to a GCS bucket, and then that'd last in the standard storage for 30 days, and then it'd be archived. So once a month, that would be archived off to Nearline, and then the local copy would expire after 7 days. We'd have the other copy in 30, and then we'd keep the monthly one or the
have
weekly
a policy
one.
there.
Yeah.
You have an archiving policy to do that. Yeah. I guess the other thing is it gives you access to your full like native tool set as well, because it's just a mounted file system. If you wanted to use other things, CPIO, just I think off the top of my head, stuff like that. You just got, you can use it like you normally would.
Yeah, I think the one thing, if people are going to try it out, the one thing to be aware of is any software that expects fast response from a disk is not going to work well with this. You will end up encountering errors.
Right, and how does it go with like Unix metadata?
Didn't really test it out. I was just sort of playing with copying files to and from one of my GCS buckets. I haven't really looked at the metadata side of it, but I would assume it would keep it.
Yep. You would think it would have to be a function of the...
It'd be a function of the fuse driver.
Of the fuse driver API, yeah. Cool. Well, I'm just definitely keen to have a play with that one. That's right up my ballpark, playing with little file systems, infrastructure and stuff. All right. Well, let's move on with, just shift gears a little bit here, move on with a little bit of security news. We had this Latitude financial breach back in March, and they've come out and they've announced a few numbers saying that this is an article from IT News saying that Latitude Financial is forecasting a first half statutory loss of between 95 million and 105 million after a cyber attack closed or severely restricted its ability to earn income for 5 weeks.
Yeah, that's crazy. The amount of money, like they're only just seeing how much money this is going to cost. The remediation costs alone are in the general vicinity of $100 million.
Yeah.
And they still don't know the total cost of the incident, because there's also still potential for regulatory fines and class actions and future system enhancements, and insurance. You can imagine that their cyber insurance will go up now.
Oh, well, breaches like this, I mean, it puts the insurance up for the entire industry, right?
Yeah, well, that's right.
Really, yeah.
And insurance is a lossy game anyway. But yeah, they said it was closed or severely restricted for new account originations and collections for 5 weeks. And the company is setting aside $53 million after tax for the first half for costs associated with the cyber incident. They suggested that this included $7 million in costs already incurred, and an additional $46 million after tax for other remediation costs, which is crazy. But given that they lost something like 14 million records, I think they've probably got off pretty easy there.
Yeah, the attack led to a breach of some 14 million records containing PII. Latitude said is continuing to support impacted customers, both current and former. So can we just say now, Ian, that everyone in Australia has had their driver's license exposed? We're almost at that point.
Almost.
We're almost at that point. Oh, except for you. Okay.
I hesitate to say I haven't yet. I am, for those who can't see us, I am crossing my fingers because, touching wood here. I haven't yet, and neither is my wife. But
and can we just say, whenever there's a breach and they come out and say, don't worry, no one's affected, it's only a couple of hundred customers, that's just a straight up ball-faced lie. They don't know. That's just the rule now, right?
If anybody says it's only a couple of hundred customers, they have no idea how big their breach is.
They have no idea. Exactly. Yep. They're just trying to hose it down.
And it sort of brings back that point. We were speaking about this the last time. We were talking about Latitude Financial and Medibank and all the rest of them. It's about time the government put in place a signature system for or an electronic signature system for ID verification, so that these providers don't have to carry a copy.
Hold all this stuff.
Yeah. completely irrelevant to hold it. Unnecessary even.
Yeah, and the more institutions that have your data, it's just making your
The
attack surface
vector,
broader.
the surface of attack is massive.
Yep. And I don't know, like, companies like this, they're slow. They're slow to move. Like,
They are.
I'm just. This is just. I've got no other information other than my opinion on this, but I would imagine that they weren't modernized. How they probably had sort of design and thinking driven out of the 90s. And not and trying to keep the system secure and just keeping their heads above the water. I only say this because they're probably not the only ones that are in that situation, right?
No, they wouldn't be 100%. But you've got to look at it at a financial services provider as they're not going to be the first ones to adopt a specific technology or a specific cloud or whatever because there's unknown risks there, and APRA have got very strict standards on how they need to provide security over it. So
yep.
they're going to be
we
slow.
touched on this the other week, didn't we? Putting a security standard in place, that's part of the problem because they can't work outside those walls.
That's right. And look, they're going to be slow to the party, but I think the sooner the regulatory body gets on board and the financial institutions get on board and start modernising, the sooner a lot of customer data is going to be safe or safer.
And the government makes changes to the way this is stored and the way we're identified, really.
Yeah. We should any provider. I don't care whether it's your telephone provider or your electrical provider. No provider should have to store a copy of your driver's license or passport or any sort of identifying information. None of it. No. The most they should have is your name and address.
And the barcode tattooed on your arm. Because that'd be and the chip implanted in your forehead,
a mate of mine who actually has a barcode tattooed on his arm, and you can scan it.
Well, there you go. I was going to ask, what does it come up as? Because everyone else is thinking that now.
It was his army serial number.
Oh, there you go. Well, that's good. That's nice. And maybe passkeys are the answer then.
Well, passkeys might be a tiny piece of the puzzle. I love this because, I mean, Google's now come to the party with passkeys. Microsoft and Apple are already using passkeys. Passkeys are fantastic. You log in. I've got it turned on my private account. You log into Gmail, and it just pops up and it says, select this number on your two-factor device to log in. So I don't need a password anymore. It's literally authenticating me through my phone.
Yeah. I set it up just now. Seamless. Absolutely seamless. So if I just open up an incognito window now and go log into my my Google account, my phone pings me and says, "Did you try to log in?" I said, yes. And then it requests my thumbprint. Put the thumbprint in, bang, it lets me in. Oh, no password, nothing. That's great.
I'm really waiting, and I was doing some research this morning on whether there is a PAM driver for passkeys in Linux. Yet there is not. Because that would be awesome.
Yeah. Put your name in, press enter, get a prompt on your phone, bang, just lets you straight in.
Yep.
You go to sudo, same thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what I'm waiting for, because that you can't get into my phone without my identifying information. Yep. And if I report my phone stolen, the only way you can get back into it is with the Titan key.
Right. Or, in my case, the thumbprint. And what are you going to do? You've got to have my thumb to get into it, right? If the phone's lost. So,
yep.
Nice.
Yeah. I think this has been a long time coming and well and truly overdue. But I'm loving it.
Yep. And third parties can just use the Google SSO and they'll have access to it.
That's it.
Yep. Yeah, so that's passkeys. I'll link a couple of articles in the show notes, but if you haven't enabled it yet, then definitely go and turn that on. It was really easy, just click of a button. And because I already had the Pixel 7, it had already set up the passkey on the phone already. I didn't even need to do that bit. It was already there.
And if you're the administrator of a GWS workspace or domain, or your GWS admin, you can set it up for your entire organization. So all they've got to have is the Gmail app installed on their phone, and it just works.
Or in your work profile. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Well, if you're an Apple user, you don't have a work profile because everything gets mixed up, and Apple keeps asking you which account.
Horrible. Just give me cold chills now just thinking about that. Yeah, definitely, guys. Go set up passkey. All right, let's move on. Now, this one was cool. Google Cloud's unveiled a new A3 GPU supercomputer.
Yeah, this is cool.
Yeah, so the A3 GPU is just a supercomputer, cutting-edge technology that will reshape the landscape of machine learning and digital content production. Now, these A3 supercomputers consist of the NVIDIA H100 GPU. And I'll put a link in the show notes, but just coincidentally, Linus Tech Tips they went to NVIDIA's conference that they had, their show and tell conference that they had on recently.
Computex 2023 it was, yeah.
Computex, yeah. And they had some chassis of the, they call it the Grace Hopper module, NVIDIA's Grace Hopper module there. And what it is, so the Grace CPU, there's sort of two components to this. You've got this Grace CPU, which is actually an ARM CPU.
Yeah.
And it comes in a module. Now you can get a dual CPU module, and the module is like a whole thing that you, I don't know, I kind of think of when the Pentium 4 came out and you plug the whole Pentium 4 into the motherboard.
The old slot one.
The old slot ones, that's it. Like that, but like way bigger and a different type of slot, right? It's like that, and it's got this, it's got the memory integrated to it, and it's got this thing called the NVLink, right?
Yes.
That links the two CPUs
this
together.
This was really impressive.
Yeah, so you get this, you get the dual Grace ARM CPU module with the NVLink. Now, the NVLink, just to give you some numbers, the NVLink gives you 900 gigabytes per second of bandwidth between the two CPUs.
Bidirectional, too.
Bidirectional. Now, put that in perspective. A Gen 5 16X PCI bus would give you about 64 gigabytes per second.
Yep.
So, order of magnitude there, nearly two. Between the two CPUs. But then there's another module that they've got, which has got this H100 Hopper GPU on it, and they call that the Grace Hopper module, right? So you've got a Grace ARM CPU and the H100 Hopper GPU on there. Plus you've got this memory, this HPM3 RAM, which, get this, runs at 4 terabytes per second between the RAM and the CPU.
And it's blindingly fast. The thing that everybody's got to understand about these is they're exactly the same as the M1 chip or the M2 chip that Apple puts in their machines at the moment. They're an ARM chip. They're essentially a system on chip, as the memory and everything is bundled in with them. So you've got to pick the amount of RAM that you want when you order it, because you can't upgrade it ever. So,
mind you, it's like, do you want the 512 gigabytes of RAM, or do you want the 4 terabytes of RAM?
Well, so the actual Grace CPU only supports up to 480 gigabytes of RAM. And I say supports up to 480 gig. Sounds terrible, I know. But its memory bandwidth is 512 gigabytes per second.
Yeah.
Which is phenomenal. And then you've got the the NVLink CPU to GPU link that sits in between it, because these modules sit right next to each other.
Right next to each other on the die. They're separate dies, but it's that's right. They're connected together. Yeah.
So you've got 900 gigabytes per second of bidirectional bandwidth between them, And then you've got 96 or up to 96 gig of this HBM3 memory on the GPU that runs at 4 terabytes per second. But that wasn't the thing that impressed me.
Oh, okay.
The thing that was impressing me is just the stats on the GPU. Yeah, have a look at the stats on the GPU. So I actually managed to pause Linus Tech Tips video right when he was showing the specs on
the H100.
Yeah, so your FP64 is 34 teraflops. Your FP64 Tensor Core is 67 teraflops. And then you go into like your TF32 Tensor Core is 989 teraflops, and your BFloat 16 is 1979 teraflops, and it just keeps going. It is an absolutely phenomenal GPU. And you can only imagine how much it makes the latest GeForce card look like an S3 Verge from 1982.
But will it run Crysis? That's the question we're all asking.
Probably not, because it's ARM.
Probably not. But you could probably run Doom on it. I bet you someone's trying to run Doom on it.
Undoubtedly someone has already ported Doom to it. It would be the fastest
but even
running
the hardware,
Doom.
Even the hardware was cool. It was like a 3RU like server form factor with these caddies that slid in and out of the back.
Yep.
And you could have, 4 caddies in there, I think?
Yeah,
and then,
so it's
and then each caddy had a CPU module in it.
Yeah, so it was a gigabyte server.
Mm.
And it supported up to 4 of these Grace super chip modules, which is the 2 Grace CPUs.
Oh, which pull 1,000 watts each.
Which
by the
pull
way.
1,000 watts each.
Yeah.
Each one of these CPUs is 72 cores per chip, and it contains the NVLink, and it's got up to 480 gig of RAM on it. So, I mean, they're not slouches by any means.
Yeah, so we're getting excited about these A3s, which I don't know, when are we going to get access to them? Are they, well, not that I'll be getting access to them, but are they available now? I don't know if the article says that.
I haven't seen a date for it in the article.
Right.
They're not cheap though.
No, they won't be cheap. But if you're training your large language models, then this is the way to go.
Yeah. Well, I remember Linus Tech Tips mentioned in the video that the Grace Superchip module is $100,000 each.
Yes, each. Yep.
Yeah.
Get a few thousand of them in a data center. It's fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Should we move on with the AI wars?
AI wars.
All right. Well, we tried to get to this article when we did the Bruno Aziza show the other week, but time ran out, and it might be old news now, but there is a leaked. Well, yeah, it is a leaked memo, but we kind of all saw this coming from Google saying we have no moat. Open source is going to be the winners when it comes to AI.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, this was early May, and it was always going to happen. Meta's Llama model was leaked somehow.
That's right.
Open source got hold of it. The things that sort of stood out to me were Google pointing out very rightly that open source is doing things with $100 and 13 billion parameters that Google is struggling with at $10 million and 540 billion parameters, and they're doing so in weeks and not months.
That's right. Yeah.
Which really is the whole premise behind open source. You deal with the resources that you've got, and you've just got a ton of hands.
Yep. So in the space of 3 weeks, we went from, and we reported on all this at the time, we went from Llama 13B to Alpaca 13B, and then Vincuna 13B, and we're saying, this is of when? This was 4th of May. We're saying if ChatGPT was 100%, Vincuna is reaching 92%.
Yeah.
And Bard at the time was reaching 93%. So that's a month ago now. Someone needs to rerun these numbers again, because this is just changing so quickly.
Yeah, that's right. And I think Google pointed that out in this email. And it's again, it's allegedly. It says in this email, while our models still hold a slight edge in terms of quality, the gap is closing astonishingly quickly, which is exactly what we've seen. The gap that's in the open source version is like their quality is accelerating at a phenomenal rate. Yeah, I think the call out here that I really sort of like is Google saying that in order to establish themselves as a leader in the open source community, instead of ignoring open source AI, they should take the lead by cooperating with them and cooperating with the broader conversation as well. And I think that's probably a responsible place to be, because I suppose my biggest concern is that whilst you've got OpenAI and you've got Google and they've got very specific morals around how they're developing their AI, it doesn't take much for someone in the open source community to decide that they want to do something nefarious with AI.
Well, we're already seeing that. We're seeing AI models being released that don't have safeguards, or they've had safeguards stripped off them.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, it takes me back to, there was a JavaScript package probably 2 years ago now, when the war between Russia and Ukraine first broke out, and the developer was so disgusted with what Russia had done that he put some code into this JavaScript library that he built, that if it detected your computer come from Russia, it deleted everything.
Oh.
So, I mean, it doesn't take much for that sort of stuff to happen. And
so it was like a intentional supply chain attack.
It was, 100% it was.
From the creator,
And it was a big library too. It wasn't a small little library that's got like 10,000 downloads. This was a massive one that had hundreds of thousands.
Yeah. What's great about this article, and the bit that I found really fascinating, was the timeline that they spell out towards the end of the article. And you can see how quickly this progress happens. So February 24th, this is this year, Llama is launched. March 3rd, Llama is leaked, right? So that's the Facebook model. So that was leaked. Then March 12th, large language models on a toaster. So they started running it on a Raspberry Pi. March 13, it got fine-tuned, and a Packer LoRa repo was running on a laptop. March 18, it got optimized, started using this thing called 4-bit quantization, made it really fast. March 19, the 13B model achieves parity with Bard. So, well, I mean, that's like space of 3 weeks.
Yep.
March 25, Chat GPT for All came out. March 28, a bunch of stuff happened on March, towards the end of March. And then April 3rd, people can't tell the difference between 13B and Chat GPT. And then April 15, RLHF. This is the
it's the human feedback.
Yeah, human feedback thing is launched on ChatGPT. Yeah, so we need a little update on that as well, because there's only been a few weeks since then. I'm sure heaps has happened.
Well, the interesting thing to point out here is that when this Meta's Llama was originally released or leaked to the public, it didn't have RLHF in it, and so in the matter of 6 weeks, maybe, the open source community has implemented RLHF and got it running on a Raspberry Pi and got it running on a MacBook Pro and got it running on laptops, and it's just gone from strength to strength to strength to strength.
It says here, it takes RLHF from unachievable to cheap and easy for small experimenters.
Yep. And you have a look at the training costs that they've got included in this article. It's like, real humans can't tell the difference between 13B Open Model and ChatGPT. The training cost was $100. It's crazy.
Yeah. And I mean, there's been a spate of things come out since then. I mean, one of the things I've kind of been following is the integration of chat models into gaming. there's, I don't know if you've ever played Skyrim, but there is a mod for Skyrim that's come out that puts a language model into each NPC, and you can walk up to the non-player character and have a conversation with them.
Oh, that's awesome.
And they seed the model with just a few bit of information on the background of the individual and, you know, where they live and who they are, and you can have a whole conversation.
That's awesome. That really is.
Awesome.
And that was where we always knew AI was going anyway. Gaming was always going to be a prime use case. I think the thing that stood out in this article for me was they tested hallucination in Palm 2. Yeah. So hallucinations when the AI model will speak just straight out lies. Yes. So that old thing where you ask ChatGPT who has the bigger language model, ChatGPT or Google AI or Bard, and ChatGPT will tell you that Bard has far more parameters than ChatGPT, and then in the next sentence it'll say, but ChatGPT is the bigger language model, and it's like, but no, you've just said it's not. Yeah, so they tested hallucination inside of Palm 2, and it appears that it's been tamed very well from speaking outright lies.
Okay, so I asked it, which is better, Bard or ChatGPT? And it's replied with, Bard and ChatGPT are both large language models, but they have different strengths and weaknesses. Interesting. And it's giving me a table here. Bard, 540 billion parameters, ChatGPT, 175 billion parameters. Bard free, ChatGPT paid. Nice. Overall, Bard, a good option for users who need a language model that can answer questions and generate creative content. ChatGPT, a good option for users who need a large language model that can generate and summarize text requests.
Okay. Interesting.
There you go. So it is answering the question. All right. Well, look, we've gone on for long enough. We might finish it up there. What do you think, Ian?
Yeah, mate, that sounds good to me.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. All right. Look, don't forget to go to iTunes and write the show a review. That'll really help the show out. You can contact the show, gcplife@casner.com.au. We've got the Twitter there @gcplife, and I cross-post on my LinkedIn as well. Don't forget to give us a little bit of feedback on those posts as well if you've got some ideas for the show. You can look us up on the website. You can just Google that, and you'll see Ian's picture there now. That's all nice and updated. And don't forget, today's sponsor is Casner. At Casner, we make your Google Cloud solutions possible. I think I've said enough. What about you, Ian?
Yeah, mate. Yeah, I've said enough too.
All right. We'll catch you in 2 weeks. Bye.
Bye.
I think I've said enough. What about you, Dave? Oops.
Dave's not here, man.
That goes into the outtakes.
Oh, that's awesome.
Let me try that again.